In today's video, I'm going to show you guys the best Prebuilt gaming PCs on Amazon that you can buy on November in 2021. Keep in mind that by the end of November, we have the Cyber Monday and we have the Black Friday as well, so some of these prices might go down, so keep an eye on that if you want to buy from Amazon or any company. There are some PCs on this list that are good, but I recommend other PCs from other companies because some of them are better, and that's why you will have in the description of this video other gaming PCs as well with these Amazon ones if you want to buy from other company as well. But because we are talking about Amazon, I'm going to show you the best from their website. So now let's start. With the first one and the cheapest one on the list, we have the Elite Gaming PC with the Ryzen 5 3400G and Vega 11 graphics, 8 gigs of RAM at 3200 MHz, which is pretty good, and 240 gigs of SSD. It comes with a B450 motherboard and a 500 watt power supply, which is what I like for future upgrades. Now the Vega 11 graphics are not the best, and you get 8 gigs of RAM, which you will have to upgrade in the future. But for competitive games, it's not actually a bad PC. If you want to play games like Fortnite, Valorant and CSGO, a 1080p is going to average more than 100 FPS, and I think that's pretty good if you are on a budget, but this gaming PC is made for future upgrades. So I would recommend you buying this PC only if you're going to put a good GPU in the future where GPUs go back to the normal price. Hopefully, because we actually don't know, but if they do, this gaming PC is great to pair it with a GTX 1660 Super where you can throw any game at 1080p and it's going to run it at above 60 FPS on average, and for esports titles at above 144 FPS. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're going to upgrade this PC with a good GPU in the future, then I do recommend it, but if it's going to be your PC for the next few years, then you may want to save up some more money and get other gaming PCs that I'm about to mention. And also keep in mind that you should upgrade the RAM to 16 gigs at the same speeds of course, and you also have to upgrade the storage since it comes with a 240 gigs of SSD, which is great to put Windows on it, but it's not going to be enough if you want to download some games. So if you're on a budget, go with a hard drive, 1TB or 2TB of hard drive, but if you can spend a little bit more, go with a 1TB of SSD. With the next PC, we have the Skytech Place 3.0 gaming computer, and this one has the i3-10100F, the GTX 1650, 500 gigs of SSD and 8 gigs of RAM at 3000 MHz. Now on this picture, we can see that it has 2 sticks of 4 gigs of RAM, and that's something really positive since PC companies usually cheap out on their RAM and put only 1 stick of 8 gigs, and that's something terrible because you are losing on performance. Now what I like about this PC is that it's more of a PC build, and since it has a 600 watt 80 plus gold power supply, you will be able to upgrade it in the future, and that's what I like about it. For gaming now, this PC is pretty decent since it has a GTX 1650, which is a really good budget GPU, and you get the i3-10100F, which is acceptable, but if you can upgrade it in the future, it's going to be much better. Another positive things about this PC is that it has a good case for the airflow and also no bloatware, so you don't have to worry about programs that you don't want on your gaming PC. Once again, I do recommend you upgrading the RAM from 8 gigs to 16 gigs, and here you get 500 GB of SSD, which is a little bit better than the previous one, but it still might not be enough for you, so I recommend you upgrading the storage too if it's not enough for you. But once again, for 1080p gaming, this PC is going to be enough. With the next PC, we have Amazon's Choice HP Pavilion Gaming Desktop at $859, which is the same exact price as the Skytech one, and the main difference is the CPU-GPU combination. Here you get the Ryzen 5 3500, which is way better than the i3-10100F, and you get the GTX 1650 Super, which is better than the GTX 1650. You get 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of SSD, and I'm going to explain the differences between this one and the Skytech one. This PC, it's an OEM system and it's going to perform better for gaming now, but for future upgradability, the Skytech one is going to be a much better option. With that being said, it's up to you to decide whether you want a gaming PC that's better for now but worse for future upgrades, or you prefer a gaming PC that for now is not going to perform as good as the HP Pavilion, but for future upgradability is going to be better. Of course, you can take out some things like the CPU, GPU, RAM and storage, but if you want to change the case or the motherboard, it's not going to be possible. So if you want to change those things, it's going to be much easier on the Skytech one. But once again, this one is going to have a much better performance for gaming now, so if that's the case, if you want a gaming PC that can run games right now, this one is your best option. For the next one, we jump from $850 to $1,020, and that's because I couldn't find a better PC than the HP and the Skytech one between $800 to $1,000. And we're talking about the Cyberpower PC Extreme VR that I've mentioned in my previous videos, and I have a whole video around it that you can go and watch in the top right of the screen. For the CPU, it has the i5-11400F, which is a great budget CPU, and you also get the RTX 2060, which is way better than the 1650 Super. So because you get an RTX graphics card, you get an entry level of ray tracing, and the only downside for this PC is going to be the RAM, 8 gigs, and it's actually one stick of RAM, so I highly recommend you upgrading it with another stick of 8 gigs. But other than that, I think this gaming PC is great, and it's great for the value. $1,020 for the performance that you get, I think it's pretty great. And of course, if you have a 1080p monitor, it's going to be way more than enough. For the next PC, we have another one from HP, and this one is the Omen 30L at $1,400. And once again, if you have a budget between $1,100 and $1,300, go with the Cyberpower PC. You're not going to find a better deal, at least on Amazon, for that price range. But here with the Omen 30L, you get the Ryzen 5 5600G, and you get 16 gigs of RAM at 3200 MHz, which is better than the previous options because here you end up getting 16 gigs. You also get the RTX 3060, which is way better than the 2060, so you get a huge upgrade for the GPU, and you also get 1TB of SSD, which is more storage than any of the other Prebuilt PCs. So I think this gaming PC, it's a really good option at $1,478. With this PC, you can also start playing games at 1440p 60 FPS average with the proper settings. And for 1080p games, esports titles is going to average more than 240 FPS in most of these games, and for high demanding games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 at high settings is going to average more than 70 FPS, so I think it's a great option. Now for this next PC, I don't recommend you to buy it right now because it's $1,600, but the price for this PC usually goes down to $1,150, so I mentioned this PC right here for you to keep an eye on that, because if you see it at $1,200, it's going to be one of the best deals on the list. But for $1,600, I do not recommend it, and I have a lot of videos talking about it, so I won't get into too much detail. For the next PC, we have another one from Skytech, and this one is the Archangel gaming desktop, which has the Ryzen 5 5600X and the RTX 3060 Ti, which is better than all of the GPUs that I mentioned in this video. 1TB of SSD, 16 gigs of RAM at 3200 MHz, you get a liquid cooler. It's not necessary for a Ryzen 5 5600X, but it's still going to be a better option than all of the other coolers. What I like about this PC is that it has a well-branded RTX 3060 Ti, this one being the FGAP version. I think for gaming, this PC is going to be a beast, and if you have $1,700 and you want to buy from Amazon, it's going to be your best option. The only thing that I don't like about this PC is the airflow for the case, but considering that it has 3 RGB fans and a liquid cooler, I don't think it's going to be a problem. And the last and the best gaming PC from Amazon at almost $2,000, and if you have a budget above this number, let me know in the comment section and I will help you out. We have the ROG Strix gaming desktop. This one has the Ryzen 7 5800X, which is better for both gaming and multitasking than the 5600X, and you also get the RTX 3070, which is slightly better than the 3060 Ti. You get 60 gigs of RAM, 500 gigs of SSD, and 1TB of hard drive, so it's enough storage for your games. I think for gaming overall, this PC is going to be a beast, and also for multitasking and streaming. So if you want to stream with one PC and do some multitasking, this one is the one for you, but I think it's expensive, so that really depends on your budget and on your necessities. Always ask yourself what you're going to do with this gaming PC, what are your goals with it, because if you're going to play at 1080p, I don't think it's worth the price, but if you have a 1440p 144Hz monitor, that's when you want to buy this gaming PC if you have the budget to. But if you're going to game on a 1080p monitor, even a 240Hz one, I would go with lower end gaming PCs like the previous Skytech, where you end up saving around $300 for a gaming PC that's going to perform the same at 1080p. Of course, not the same FPS, but you are not going to notice any difference since you have a 1080p monitor. So that was my whole list for today's video. If you found it helpful, please leave a like and subscribe, but most importantly, hit the bell button so you get notified when I upload this type of content, which I do from 3 to 5 times a week. Also, I'm going to make an HP Pavilion desktop review really soon, so make sure to stay tuned on that. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.